really good motorbike has a habit of making you late for things, whether it's because you fancied another 10 minutes on your favourite bends, or because the sun comes out mid-ride and suddenly the long way home beckons. CFMOTO reckons the new 300 SR has got the perfect mix of accessible performance and everyday practicality that makes it equally engaging both on and off the beaten track. Best of all, because of its A2-friendly power output and price that undercuts most of its rivals, it's accessible to everybody, from younger riders looking to move up from a 125 to more experienced riders looking for their first taste of sports bike fun, like myself. We're taking it out today on some of our favourite roads to see how it stacks up and whether it really is as good as it looks. The 300 SR is powered by a 292cc motor, which is good for 29 brake horsepower and 18 foot-pounds of torque. It's a single cylinder, so it's a little bit vibey at high revs, but if anything, that adds to the sensation of speed. It feels quite a bit faster than you think, even if you look down and it's only reading 55 miles per hour. At tickover, there's the characteristic one-pot thud, but it pulls smoothly up to 10,000 RPM. It sounds bassy and purposeful at low revs, and then growly and high-pitched above 6,000 RPM, which makes it quite rewarding to rev out to the red line. It's just a shame there's no exhaust drama like a crackle or a pop when it's hot. It's quick enough to be fun and put a smile on your face without putting points on your licence. So, the line cheaper than its rivals can sometimes, to me, make me wonder where exactly the money's been saved. And it's not actually immediately obvious. In terms of the kit and kind of the quality and finish of this bike, it's all pretty good. There's a really bright LED daytime running light that looks really cool when it's on. The headlight, the tail light, the brake light, and the indicators are all LED. Where you can see bits of kind of exposed trellis frame down there, it's got a nice white pearlescent finish to it. There's quite a lot of this kind of carbon fibre look stuff on the bike, which may or may not be to your taste. The switchgear, all the bits and bobs that you use kind of on the handlebars, it all feels really nice. It's all substantial and it clicks, you know, really positively. So you know when you're using it, all the edges nicely rounded off. It's all easy to use with gloves. Doesn't feel like it's made of cheap plastic or that it's too flimsy. The dash itself, as is quite common these days, is an LCD. It's full colour. There are two different modes. There's an eco mode and then a slightly sportier looking central tacho for the sport mode. Moving backwards on the bike, obviously it's quite a sporty look, but the seating position is pretty comfortable. The bars are a lot higher than you might expect. It's quite a bit of room. I don't really feel like I'm, kicking myself in the elbows every time I try and turn a corner. The seat's got a surprising amount of padding in it, really, for a sports bike. That's pretty comfortable. It's nice and wide. The pegs aren't that high, I don't think. You certainly feel like you're in kind of a tucked up position, but there's room there. I'm 6'2", and I don't feel like I've got too little space. To be honest, I think the pillion seat's probably a bit more useful to kind of brace yourself against, really, rather than taking a passenger on it. I don't think it's that kind of bike. It's a bit of a perch, personally. I don't think I would put myself on it or anyone else, but that's kind of up to you. So that's all well and good, but what's the bike actually like to ride? Well, we've been on A roads, B roads, bit of town riding, been on a dual carriageway a little bit today as well, and honestly, I can't find anything to fault. It's a cracking little bike. The engine actually feels quite a bit more powerful than the 30 horsepower it's got. It's really linear in its power delivery. You don't feel like you're kind of vulnerable pulling out of junctions or traffic lights, things like that. It's certainly got enough get up and go. The gearbox feels really solid. I've not had any missed shifts or false neutrals or anything like that. When you put your foot on the shifter and you get the gear you want kind of every time, there's no stress there. Handling wise, it's great fun. It's really fun to ride. I guess, it's not a heavy bike, 165 kilograms, so there's an element of agility that kind of comes with that lightweight. Also benefits the suspension as well, because there's not a lot of work for it to do. It feels nicely damped. It doesn't get thrown off mid-corner by a bump or anything like that. It doesn't squat too bad or dive under the brakes. There's plenty of power from that single disc. There's certainly enough bite and progression in the brake lever. It makes a good noise. I think you need to get it over sort of 5,000–6,000 RPM, I think, before it really opens up. The tyres, they're CST. I don't really know what I was expecting from them, but they're fine. They're confidence, inspiring amount of grip. You can lean it over and not worry too much about it. It certainly comes back up quite nicely as well. I think if I had to complain, I'd probably say I wouldn't mind a bit more feedback, but that could be a combination of things from the tyres, suspension. I mean, considering their tour price, I think they suit the bike really well. The dashboard LCD screen there, it's got several sort of settings, different brightness settings. There's an automatic mode. I've got it set pretty much to its brightest setting. It's certainly easy to read. The fact it's full colour, there's good contrast. The numbers are nice and big. There's a big gear shift indicator. Your speedometer is a big number. Like the rev counter, whether you've got it in the eco or the sport mode, very clear and easy to read. We've done sort of 50 or 60 miles so far today. Those are kind of my initial impressions, but with a good amount of daylight left, a good amount of fuel left in the tank, we're going to keep pressing on, do a few more miles and head back up to the office. Cast your mind back to when you first rode a 125. Obviously we're all keen to move on to bigger stuff with more power, but there's something engaging about the way a small, agile bike handles. The 300 SR is super light and easy to wheel around. Its weight feels low to the ground and it's really stable at low speed. Combine that with small size means it's also easy to filter in town. The suspension isn't particularly sophisticated, but it gets the job done. It also doesn't get blown around on faster roads like you would expect from a smaller bike. Altogether, it's a really satisfying combination if you're young or new to riding because the limits are so much lower. It's not going to entice you into corners at unrecoverable speeds, but you can still push on and have fun. Right, so we are finally back at the office just in time. As you can see, we're rapidly losing the daylight and I nearly ran out of fuel. I was on fumes for a little bit there, had to pull in for a bit of an emergency stop because we were basically having too much fun. It's been a really long day. We've done 164 miles. The bike has managed 62 mpg, which given we've been sort of using the same corners and kind of going back and forth quite a bit, I think it's actually pretty good going. I still can't really find anything that I would particularly fault about the way the bike rides. The mechanical's brilliant, the engine's really linear, the pickup's really nice, it's very usable. The biggest thing that I'm going to take away from today though, after that many miles in the saddle, is just how comfortable this is to use, for like longer riding, not just for a short blast on the weekend. As I said before, the bars are nice and high, so I haven't got any wrist pain. It's not been too much weight through my arms. My lower back feels fine. Who do I think it's for? I think this would really suit, a young rider, inexperienced rider that's coming up from a 125, wants a sports bike, but wants something that's kind of going to support them, isn't going to be too hard to ride, too complicated, or feel like it's chucking them off. It's so user-friendly. But equally, I think if you like myself, you've been riding for 2-3 years, not really done the sports bike thing, kind of want a bit of a taste of it. It's perfect for that. I'm surprised, I'm a bit sad to be leaving it here, frankly. I'd quite like to take it home tonight and take an even longer trip home. It's not perfect. There are a few bits that need sorting out, I think, potentially before it comes to the UK later this year. Just like little things, like a few sort of holes that could do with a rubber bung put in them. The screen doesn't do a huge amount, if I'm honest, but then I'm 6'2", so you kind of got to take that into account as well. But at the end of the day, when you look at everything on paper, it's under £4,000, which is really it's used bike money, but you get a 4-year warranty, so you're not going to have to worry about sort of anything going wrong. That really shows, I think, how confident CFMOTO are in the longevity of the parts they put on this bike. And the dealer network is increasing too, so you should be able to find, quite easily a garage to service or repair anything that goes wrong. But anyway, I am going to lock it up, I'm going to drive home and I'm going to go to bed. It's been a long day, but a very enjoyable day and a big thumbs up from me for the bike.